All our affiliate stations across the country. My name is George Kwaning. Top of the stories are minority raises alarm over attempts to weaken Special Prosecutor's Office as Attorney General moved to take OSP cases.
There was an attempt to use the executive. So petitions were filed, a series of them. The last time I mentioned that there were about 10 petitions.
And Ministry of Finance and Trades Associations agreed to meet on Monday to conduct auditing of Republican AI system at the ports.
They also agreed that they will, from Monday, we will come into a meeting and then they will open the Republican AI for us to audit and then address our concerns.
And 15 cars destroyed as fuel tanker crashes into garage at Rich Kumasi in the Ashanti region. We have details of these and more coming up shortly. I'll be still with us. And now let's start for the details of the stories. And 15 vehicles were destroyed after a fuel tanker carrying 54,000 litres of petrol crashed into a garage at Rich near Plus 2 pub in the Kumasi metropolis of the Ashanti region. And the tanker crashed into the garage on Thursday, April 16, 2026, destroying the cars that were displayed along the road for sale, and no casualties were recorded in the accident. It took firefighters from the Kumasi KGTL fire station and the regional headquarters hours to manage the situation and prevent a fire explosion. Fire service officials who responded to the crash embarked on cooling operations to eliminate any risk of explosion at the scene. We will be monitoring this very development and surely updating you in the subsequent bulletins. And now, the Ministry of Finance and Trades Associations have agreed to meet on Monday to conduct auditing into the implementation of the Republican AI system, currently a subject of controversy at the various ports. And the coalition of freight forwarders, traders and industry associations on Tuesday boycotted port activities for 4 days, which expires today. And chairman of the Food and Beverages Association, John Awuni, said the ministry is not interested in suspending the AI system. Take a listen.
They agreed to the fact that they will agree to reverting to the status quo, and for that matter, they will ensure that the appeal process is done within 24 hours. They also agreed that they will, from Monday, we will come into a meeting and then they will open the Republican AI for us to audit and then address our concerns. And then with the disclosure, respect to the disclosure of the details of the entity and contractual arrangement underpinning the Republican AI system, the ministry maintained its position that while it will grant leadership of our associations assets, they are unable to give a full disclosure of the AI system.
John Awuni is the chairman of the Food and Beverages Association. Away from that, the Supreme Court has granted the Attorney General 7 days to file a statement of case in a constitutional challenge that could redefine the prosecutorial authority of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. At the Apex Court on Thursday, April 16, a chief state attorney representing the Attorney General explained that delays in filing the statement of case were due to what she described as unavoidable administrative procedures. The Supreme Court, however, questioned why no supporting affidavit had been filed alongside the request for an extension. In a related development, the Attorney General's Department says it will comply with the High Court directive to take over all the criminal prosecutions currently being handled by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The ruling, delivered on April 15, orders the immediate transfer of all ongoing OSP-led cases to the Attorney General. This arrangement, the court said, should remain in place until the OSP secures the constitutionality required authorization from the Attorney General to prosecute cases independently. Constitutional lawyer John Quayson said the president must intervene.
What just happened at the High Court is something that will not stand the test of time. It's just a matter of few days, few weeks, and everything will be overturned. Whether by procedurally the OSP will take steps or not. In the nearest future, some other citizens can just go to court and then overturn the ruling. So we come back to what we think will be beneficial to us as a country and as a state. We expected drastic and urgent changes in the way and manner we went about public prosecutions.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to the Morning News here on 3FM. with me, George Kwaning. And let's still stay on issues relating to the law. And the minority in Parliament says current legal challenges over the independence of the office of the Special Prosecutor is indicative of a government-sponsored act to remove the office from the country's status, and the continuous existence of the OSP is under threat after the Attorney General said it would take steps to take over cases being handled by the OSP. And Yunam Haliga captures ongoing debate over the office of the Special Prosecutor in this very report.
First, we saw the leader of government business, Honorable Mahama Yerega, and the MP for Boku Central, and then the Honorable Majority Chief Whip, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo, bring a private member's motion to the floor of Parliament seeking to abolish the office of the Special Prosecutor. Now that is a parliamentary, attack. They were called to order by the President from what we were told. Then there was an attempt to use the executive. So petitions were filed, a series of them. The last time I mentioned that there were about 10 petitions. Some people argued, but there were quite many petitions. And those also failed the test of prima facie. So they were also thrown out. Now the last leg is to use the judiciary. And this is what we are seeing.
And in other stories this very morning, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, has rejected allegations of financial impropriety, mismanagement in the misappropriation of pension funds, describing claims by Old Tafo MP Vincent Ekwasefo as false and misleading. On Thursday, the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Ekwasefo, raised US governance concerns over what he describes as an unauthorized salary increment by the acting CEO of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, Chris Boydi Mensah. But the authority in a release last night refuted assertions that 50 million cedis were spent on 7 Land Cruiser vehicles, stating it owns only 2 and challenging the MP over this very issue. And before we part company, and the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, has revealed deep-seated challenges within Ghana's local governance system, with calls for urgent reforms to improve efficiency, accountability, and inclusiveness. This came to light during a stakeholder forum held to collate input on proposed reforms to the country's decentralization framework. A report by Upper West Regional Correspondent Ibrahim Wangara.
The stakeholder forum brought together key actors in local governance, including district chief executives, district coordinating directors, presiding members, queens, and media practitioners to validate findings from a nationwide survey conducted across selected districts. Programs Manager for Local Governance and the Security Sector at CDD Ghana, Paul Nana Kwabena Abrempa Miansa, sheds light on the major findings.
So the major ones I can summarize is that some of the assemblies are weak financially, and they, apart from the District Assembly Common Fund, they don't generate enough to see their development. In some of the districts, we have the district structures non-functioning. We also have complaints from the chiefs who said the consultation system at the assemblies is not enough. They are only consulted during sword cutting. There were also complaints of inability of assembly members to consult their constituents prior to assembly meetings.
The engagement captured divergent views on the election of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives, with participants rejecting proposals for phased elections, describing them as discriminatory.
If we are promoting voting for our MMDCs, we should just make it a universal arrangement so that every district, they have the opportunity to elect.
Well, that's how we end the morning news. For more news updates, just log on to our website at 3news.com. I'll be back for business. Stay with us.
FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to the business news on Sunrise. Coming up, IMF Managing Director signals up to $50 billion global emergency support as Ghana faces oil price risk amid external shocks.
We anticipate near-term demand for IMF financial support to range between $20 and $50 billion.
Also, government seeks to raise 4.89 billion cedis in treasury bills amid recent market slump. We'll bring you details. And Ghana targets 600,000 tons in push to reduce tomato imports, with the potential of creating some 300,000 jobs along the value chain.
Because of the difficulties we are going through, we met and said, what can we do with you as a private entity to scale up production to meet demands of our nation?
We have details of these and many other stories lined up for you. I am Michael Obodu. Do stay tuned. Straight into our top story, and the International Monetary Fund (IMF) says it is preparing up to $50 billion in emergency support for countries vulnerable to fresh shocks. This comes on the back of countries including Ghana's economic recovery efforts facing renewed pressure from rising oil prices and global uncertainty. This report has the details.
Ghana is among economies being closely watched at the IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington as concerns grow over the impact of higher energy prices and slowing global growth. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says the fund expects near-term demand for financial assistance to range between $20 and $50 billion, with several countries in sub-Saharan Africa likely to seek support.
We anticipate near-term demand for IMF financial support to range between $20 and $50 billion. This represents augmentations of some existing programs. Currently, we have 39 programs, and prospective demand for new programs from at least a dozen countries, a number of them in sub-Saharan Africa.
The IMF Managing Director says her outfit is coordinating with the World Bank and other partners to respond quickly to countries facing turbulence.
We are coordinating closely with the World Bank, with the International Energy Agency, with other partners, including at regional level, to maximize our combined response.
Now, meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen says the country's economic recovery is real amid grounded and firmly grounded in long-term structural reforms. Speaking on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank spring meetings, he assured international investors that recent gains are not temporary, but the result of deliberate policy decisions and legislative backing. Dr. Forsen stressed that the government remains committed to disciplined implementation to sustain the recovery and strengthen investor confidence. Now, Government of Ghana is returning to the domestic market this Friday, April 17, 2026, with an ambitious target to raise 4.89 billion cedis through its weekly treasury bill auction. The move is being closely watched by market analysts as it follows a challenging month for the treasury, which has seen 4 consecutive weeks of undersubscription. There is more in this report.
Investor appetite for government securities has cooled recently, leaving the Bank of Ghana struggling to meet its previous borrowing targets to fund the national budget. The auction covers the standard 3 tenors, offering a mix of short to medium-term options for institutional and individual investors: 91-day bill, 182-day bill, and 364-day bill. Analysts suggest that the recent string of undersubscriptions is a signal of tightening liquidity and rising caution among investors. While the government remains committed to its 2026 annual borrowing and recovery plan, the pressure to attract funds may force a shift in interest rates. The result of this tender will be a litmus test for the government's domestic debt strategy for the second quarter of 2026. If the auction fails to meet the 4.89 billion cedis target, it could signal further fiscal strain as the government seeks to manage its maturing debts and operational expenses. The Bank of Ghana is expected to release the full results of the auction by the evening of April 17.
Now, away from that, Ghana is ramping up efforts to cut its reliance on imported tomatoes with plans to boost local production to 600,000 metric tons a year. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture says the initiative is expected to significantly reduce the country's supply gap while creating thousands of jobs across the value chain. Ghana currently spends around $500 million annually on tomato imports, with a supply deficit of nearly 1 million tons during the lean season between December and July. The situation has been worsened by export restrictions from neighboring Burkina Faso, exposing the country's vulnerability despite its production potential. At a signing ceremony with agribusiness firm FarmMate Limited, the sector minister said the partnership would help drive long-term sustainability in tomato production. The project is also expected to support more than 300,000 jobs across farming, processing, logistics and distribution, with a focus on youth employment through training and apprenticeship programs.
Because of the difficulties we are going through, we met and said, what can we do with you as a private entity to scale up production to meet the demands of our nation and even go beyond that and export to neighboring countries. And so today's engagement marks a major step toward Ghana's tomato and vegetable self-sufficiency.
FarmMate says the initiative will also help reduce post-harvest losses by providing a ready market for farmers.
The partnership offers a unique opportunity for producers to integrate into a structured system that guarantees offtake, supports production with standardized protocols, and ensures consistent demand across both fresh and processing market. For resource partners, this initiative provides a value-added integration platform where existing programs can be achieved stronger sustainability outcomes.
Let's bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market.
Investor appetite for government security.
On the interbank foreign exchange market, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis, 3 pesos. It's gained 1 peso. The British pound is selling at 14 cedis, 85 pesos. It gained 3 pesos. The euro is selling at 12 cedis, 93 pesos. It also gained 2 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a forex bureau near you. On the global commodities market, Brent crude is trading at $95.20 per barrel. Gold is trading at $4,749.75 per ounce, down by $17.14. Cocoa is trading at $3,327 per ton, up by $87.
And that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe. And the morning show continues. Do stay tuned.